Hello, and welcome to the Evolved Vets podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bethany Weinheimer. Welcome to the Evolved Vets podcast. I'm Dr. Bethany Weinheimer, and today we have Jill Clark with us. Yeah. So Jill, you've been such an advocate for women in veterinary medicine. And from day one of you hearing about the Evolved Vets, you've just been such an inspiration and a cheerleader for our mission, which is guiding veterinarians from burnout to alignment. And I just love how you jumped in and you got so excited. You connected me with so many different people in the community, and not just like, hey, you should meet this person. It was a genuine connection, and it's truly like helped my business go to the next level. And I just wanted to let you know how grateful that I am for you just seeing someone new in their career, new in their leadership journey, new in their entrepreneurship journey, and just kind of helping guide me along. So thank you so much for that compassion and love. And hopefully I can pay it forward to someone else one day in that same fashion.
First off, it's totally easy because you're amazing. But secondly, it is all about paying it forward, right? So, I mean, I got to where I got to based on help from a lot of other people.
Exactly.
And so I think it's our obligation as veterinary people, but also as women, to support each other in an unbounding kind of way.
I love that. Did you have any mentors that like you just really stood out that did that for you, and what made them so special?
You know, the funny thing is I spent 17 years in film and television, including I was in movies when I was a kid as well. And so I didn't really have a normal childhood, right? And then I went right into as an assistant director on movies and commercials, documentaries, and that sort of thing. So in the film business, there's really no difference between men and women. It's a unique industry because there's not a patriarchy really in that particular business. So I didn't even consider it. And then moving into veterinary medicine later on, it became kind of clear that the majority of us are women that are actually doing the work, but all the leadership in a lot of the large corporations and everything else are male. And so when I really figured out that, oh my gosh, I've got to do something different, it was when I was at VCA and I was working at their home office as vice president. And frequently I was the only female in the boardroom for regional or for senior ops meetings and such. And I thought, these guys are making decisions without me, and I don't know why. I don't know what I need to do that. So I got a coach from an organization called Advancing Women Executives in Los Angeles, and they just changed me for the better.
Wow.
Really, it's a group dedicated to making sure that women have director and or board seats in organizations. So they take you and mold you, and honestly, Bethany, 90% of the problem is ourselves. And not the men. Like, nobody is putting things upon us. When they took me and they're like, what are you doing? So perfect example. What are you doing to interact with your chief operating officer? And I was like, well, when he comes by and asks for lunch, to go to lunch, I'll go, oh, I'm so busy. I've got so many things to do. I'm working so hard for you, sir, that I don't have time to go to lunch. And then the guy next door says, oh, sure, let's go to lunch. And then they go off for 5 hours and decide, playing golf or doing something else, the path of the organization. So my mentor said, go back. And next time he asks you to go to lunch, you say yes. And if he doesn't ask you, you go ask him. And I want you to report back. And sure as shit.
I love this story so much.
If you don't treat yourself like culture has taught us as females to treat ourselves, big things happen. Wow. And my COO, who was Art Anton, who is an amazing, amazing man, and really even though he's a man, he became a champion of women, not only in our organization, but of me personally. And I told him I wanted to learn how to play golf. And by golly, he threw me in the golf cart, and I was taking lessons, and he took me everywhere with and made sure I had a voice. And there you go, 5 hours on the golf course. That's where they decide about the next strategy session for the company, right?
Right.
So, but if I hadn't joined Advancing Women Executives and realized that there might be an answer, it wasn't just hopeless, right? We sit there as women and we're like, well, we just never get it. Well, men will get it, or they won't pick me. Well, that's not the case.
Right.
You have to proactively move into it and know, first off, that you can do it, and surround yourself with people who tell you you can do it. Because if you sit there at your practice and you go, I'll never be medical director, or I'll never own practice because so-and-so and so-and-so, because the world's putting this on me, then you never will.
Right.
So
that victim mindset can just really hold us back sometimes, can't it?
And it's our culture, quite honestly, too, right? Yeah. We are told that we're good at certain things and not good at certain things. But that's not the truth. So you just can't believe it, right?
You can't believe it. And what if you took that moment to say, well, what if I actually was good at it? Or maybe I should try this and just see. Like golf, that's such a cool example of getting out there, making yourself a little bit uncomfortable, and then getting really good at something that put you in a situation where you could constantly learn.
Right.
And then be a part of those decisions.
And my husband and I still play it to this day. So it's a wonderful sport, right? But as women, another thing, just along that same line is saying we're so look how hard we're working, you should reward us. Women will inevitably always work until they're performing the job that they're going to ask for. Yeah. They're already doing all the stuff. And then they go and ask for a raise, and they ask for that opportunity. Where a man will go to their superior and go, hey, I think I ought to be the director of Schmanky Dangers. And with no real work put into it, just a thought and the confidence and the bravado to go ask. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll pay you more and give it. So we've got to flip this thing that's innate, and it's hard. It's really hard.
It is.
Another example, and hopefully my VCA colleagues won't mind me telling them, but we're in the senior executive meeting. I'm the only woman. I inherently would come into the meeting before everybody else, and I'd get waters out, and I'd put waters on the desk and whatever. I won one and get for everybody else, being nice. And they'd all drink it, and they're fine. And the guy at my coach was like, next time you go in there, it's not your job.
Wow.
To get water for everybody.
They can get their own water.
I know you're a kind person, but what you're doing to yourself is setting up the fact that that's your role.
Yeah.
So the next time I went in, and I was like, I just sat there. It's so hard.
It's so hard.
And they all kind of look around and and then again, Art, the most wonderful man in the world, he gets up and goes to the fridge and anybody want water? And he passes it out. And that was the last time I got water. And no one said anything about it. But I noticed from that day forward, there was a slight difference. And every time I would do another thing that would break this, what I perceived about women, it would be different and different and different until I felt like I had an equal voice in that environment. So
I love that so much. It sounds like Art was a really incredible mentor. And I get asked that a lot when we talk about women's support in veterinary medicine. And sometimes the caveat is met with, well, what about men? And the truth is we have so many men who support this vision, and they take it on with a wholehearted approach because they see the gap and they see the need for women being able to develop, to break these habits that our culture has formed that is very hard. And instead of, just sitting by and watching, they're taking an active part and actually showing up for women and guiding us and mentoring us. And I've had so many incredible male mentors. And so it doesn't take anything away from being man versus being woman, right? You can still be behind getting more women in these executive seats, no matter what your gender is. Yep. And you can still have support behind a mission like this, and guiding veterinarians, no matter where you come from. And it's a beautiful thing when we all come together. So I love that you have beautiful examples of, coaching, helping out, and then having beautiful mentors like this, because it really does shape how we show up every day.
Yeah.
So incredible. So you hinted at some really fun parts about your journey, but can you just start from day one? You started as a childhood actress, and then kind of walk us through a little bit of how you got here. And then I'd love to dive into questions about each of those stages.
I will just try to do the abbreviated version.
Yes.
I lived on a farm. I wanted a horse desperately. I came out of the womb wanting horses. And there was a national audition for a movie called Where the Red Fern Grows. And my dad just for some reason thought, well, she lives on a farm, she loves horses. So maybe she'd be right for that movie. And I auditioned for it and actually got the part of one of the 3 kids that were in the family. Did that movie, went on, did a few other little commercials and such, had a small part in another movie called Tex with Matt Dillon, Emilio Estevez, Meg Tilly. And then decided I want to be on the other side of the camera, which is kind of crazy because I still get residuals from when I was 9 years old doing other movies. So,
yes.
But I did. And I started as a production assistant, just do whatever you can to continue in this profession. And then became an assistant director and associate producer and did all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things. Especially as a young person, there's like no life like it when you're out just creating this stuff and in these environments that you would never ever be in otherwise. And then somewhere later in life, so I went from these wonderful, super cool art films and things to horror movies became really popular in the late 80s, 90s.
Yes.
And easy to get a job, paid a lot. 75% nights, which, was not that great because you felt like a vampire, but otherwise
relatable to veterinary medicine.
And so I was working on some horror movies. And honestly, I remember the actual moment because it was 2 a.m. and I was on a soundstage doing Foley. And Foley is the sound effects essentially for the movie. And I'm in like a Rolling Stones torn t-shirt and some shorts and stilettos because I was portraying a woman that was like running away from the killer. So I was on a little gravel path and I was running and then I dropped down and then I'm stabbing this frozen chicken with the knife, to be that the girl got caught. So I'm doing all this stuff. And then I just like burst into tears and started bawling. And this guy from the sound booth goes, "What is wrong with you? There's no crying in the scene. Are you crying for the scene or what are you crying for?" It's just, I feel so empty. I feel like I'm not doing anything good for the world. Matter of fact, I'm actually doing anything bad for the world because I'm working on commercials to sell people things they don't want, really. And I'm in these stupid horror movies, working I'm the person out in the middle of the night trying to get the crew around and begging actors to come out of their trailers to work and chopping chickens at 2 a.m. And so I was like, I can't do it. And coincidentally, I was going back to visit my mom and dad in Oklahoma, and my mom, they were taking the cat to the vet, and I went with them. And that veterinarian is somebody I'd known throughout my life. And he's like, "Man, you don't look happy." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not." He said, "Why don't you be a veterinarian? You always wanted to be a veterinarian." I was like, "Oh, but I'm too old, and I didn't do all my physics and my chemistry." And I went on and on and on. And he was like, "Jill, what are you going to be doing in 4 years if you don't do it?"
Wow.
It just sat with me, right? What am I going to be doing in 4 years if I don't do it? And I realized I was going to be doing the same damn thing. So I quit the film business, enrolled in a bunch of classes I hadn't taken. I had to sign some waiver that said, "You're not going to freak out because you're having to take biochem and chemistry and physics and all this other stuff together." And went to vet school and got in. And they said on my application, it was a period where they weren't taking doing interviews if you'd had GRE and that stuff was high enough. And I did, but they made me come anyway because they didn't believe my application, my resume, or what I used to do. And they were like, "Why are you doing this when you had this other supposedly romantic, wonderful life?" And because I've got to do something better for the world than this. Wow. And went to school, and it was so important for me. I mean, I'm in my late 20s, probably. Maybe I was 30 when I graduated. I can't remember, but with all these young people in my class, and it mattered so much to me, and I was paying for it myself, and I had this other life experience to bring to it. So I felt like it made me so much more successful than I might have been had I just walked right into vet school, because I brought so much to it. And I didn't have a second plan. I didn't have parents to back me up. I didn't have another job. I didn't have anything. It was this or nothing, right?
No plan B.
No plan.
I was the same way.
free fall if you don't make it. So I hunkered down and I was like, there is no way I'm not going to be top of my class. And that ended up being in that top group.
So at the Evolve Vets, we talk a lot about authentic values and living a life with purpose that's aligned with what we love. And it sounds like when you were in this Hollywood journey that there was a moment that you started to understand this life that felt really fun and exciting at one time is now no longer aligned with the journey and the purpose that you want for your life. What did that feel like? And how did you reinvent yourself?
You'll see in my story, there's 3 or 4 jumping off points, and they all came with some revelation, right? So I've never changed careers or changed something without some dramatic, dun, dun, dun. Okay, you got to get, right? And so from film to that was to veterinary medicine was just that hopeless feeling of, I don't know what else I can do, but I need to do something else, to the point of despair, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this hurts my soul to do this. And then after I practiced for a number of years, the next part of my chapter of my story is that I moved into leadership, veterinary leadership, with a company called National Pet Care Centers. And that came with a story too, right? So I was practicing, loved it. I loved so many things about practice. And Mother's Day, my mom, grandma, everybody's coming in my house with dishes, and we're going to have this wonderful thing. And a client pulls up in my driveway and starts unloading golden retrievers after a dog show, then one had cut its paw and one had done this and this and this. And I had made myself so available to my clients that they felt like they could do that. And I left my family and I went to my hospital, which was just a couple miles down the road, and took care of those dogs and missed the whole Mother's Day celebration at my house.
Oh.
And the very next day I got a call from Ross Clark, another insanely wonderful mentor and wonderful person in my life, that they were starting this veterinary company. And because of my film experience and leadership in that, they wanted to know if I would join that team. And I was like, yes. And it hurt, Bethany.
Yeah.
Like, it was painful to say yes, but it was such a relief to say yes, because I love practice. I love it. But I just felt like when we talk about burnout and all this stuff, classic burnout. Classic.
How did you know you were burnt out? Because sometimes as a veterinarian coach, sometimes people will come to me and say, how do I know if I'm burnt out? And so I'm curious, from someone who's lived through that experience, what's your answer to that?
I didn't know what it was called. I mean, honestly, the name burnout came far later,
right
after that experience. Yeah. I just knew that it was unbearable. My days were unbearable. And it wasn't like and fortunately I didn't have any other ideas about harming myself or doing anything like that, like some of our colleagues, which just really breaks my heart. I just knew that, do I want to do this forever? No. Do I love the animals? Do I love the interactions? Do I love surgery? Do I love challenging medical cases? Yes, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
And my family was basically, I ended up getting divorced after some portion of that. And it was absolutely because I'm out there on the phone with a client all the time while dinner's sitting in there cold, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever else that we do in an effort to be everything, all things not to all people in veterinary medicine. And I didn't set any boundaries. And that's one thing. There was a vet student that was at my house the other day I had a horse that was, had the vet out to look at a lameness on a horse. And there was a young vet student like, oh, I was so excited and everything. I was like, I'm going to tell you this right now. You absolutely have to set boundaries for yourself. Because had I just done something like say, hey, front desk, I'll return calls between 11 and 12 and 4 and 5. Unless it's an emergency, please, make sure that you protect that time for me. Because I'd get in the middle of a case, someone would call, I would want to be a people pleaser and go figure that out. So my brain goes now to that case. And then I come back to this case and I'm half as good as I was when I left because
you're distracted.
I can't get distracted.
Yeah.
So setting boundaries, and I'd had clients call and say, hey, 11 o'clock at night, oh, I just thought you'd want to know the diarrhea is all better. Right. And so clearly
I wouldn't be able to sleep without knowing that. So thank you so much.
But I think that's what we do.
We do.
We fix things. We heal things.
And we want to know that we're good and successful. Right. And, the people pleaser in us wants to know that, yeah, we did a good job. We did a good job. You're a good girl. You're enough. You did enough.
Good. And so just like my story about the women and me sabotaging my own success there, I did the same thing prior in veterinary medicine in that I didn't set boundaries. I had great compliance. I had people that would do whatever I asked them to do, but what I sacrificed was my own personal life.
And I think as veterinarians, the thing we don't realize is every time we say yes to that phone call, every time we leave Mother's Day to go be with a client, unfortunately, that's self-abandonment in small ways that builds up over time that leads to this apathy for what we do. And then eventually it does get to this place of compassion fatigue and burnout. And that's the journey that we go through. And, sometimes we can catch it early enough and get coaches and therapists and stuff to help along the way or have a great mentor. But sometimes it's really hard. And luckily now there's a ton of resources available for people, but sometimes that does make people want to leave the profession. I think there was a study that I read recently that said like 40% of veterinarians are actively looking to leave the profession. And so when we think about that, that's just such a high number, and how do we keep people fulfilled and practicing things like setting boundaries. The other thing that I say all the time is like, no is the most empowering word, right? So like, how do you start to say no in those moments where you really do need to take time? I have a story when I was in my last role that was really hard. I was starting to readjust my priorities because I've lived my life where, I really want to have a family and I really want to be in relationship and get married and all those things. And for a long time, I've prioritized my work and I've not regretted any of that. I'm so lucky to have so many opportunities and leadership, all the amazing things. Yeah. But as last year came around, I started realizing like, if I don't actually prioritize time to go on dates, like never actually going to meet anybody. And then I finally found this guy that I really liked. And there was this moment where somebody on my team wanted my attention on a Friday night. And I was on a date with this guy and I was going to be out of the country or out of the States for like 3.5 weeks. And I had to make a decision, like, do I be present with this person that I'm on a date with before I, leave for work for a long period of time? Or do I like keep calling this person back until they answer? We kind of did phone tag once and then, called them back during the working week, and it really hurt this person's feelings. And in that moment, I had to make a choice, but the choice was for me to be in veterinary medicine for a lot longer. It was for me to choose my relationship, and who knows if it will end up leading to all the things that I dream of, right? But in that moment, I had to choose myself, and I had to choose authenticity and focusing on the priorities that I have and not self-abandon, versus like those moments where I've done it so many times before, right? The reason that she wanted me to be available is because I'm always available, and that was on me, right? Like I did that to myself.
That's the thing is, I think when we look at some of these things, we have to first look at ourselves, because it's easy to go, this is happening to me, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But I had absolutely trained my clients to do what they did.
Exactly.
It was like you train a dog to jump up on the table or whatever. Like, yep. I had done it perfectly.
Yep.
And so I think it's self-reflection plays such a big role, because it may not cure it. There may be, other circumstances, and there 99% are, but you can do a lot with just yourself.
Yes.
And finding no it came late in life for me. But when I found it, it's my favorite word. Like, yeah. I love it.
Yes. Well, thank you for saying yes to being here. So
yeah, that. That's easy. The talking about it and helping others is still, that's still, I'll do that in, every chance I get.
Very fulfilling. Absolutely.
Let me speak directly to the woman who feels like she's barely holding it all together. You are still competent. You are still high functioning. Your team probably thinks you're fine. Your family probably just thinks you're a little disconnected. But inside, you're exhausted, irritable, disconnected, and wondering if you chose the wrong path. Code Blue Coaching is not about quitting veterinary medicine. You've already invested $250,000 or more in your education, and there's also been time, energy, love, and compassion given to VetMed too. This is about reclaiming yourself inside of VetMed instead of giving up on it. Over 6 months, I partner with you and hold your hand as we identify patterns keeping you in survival mode. We rewire the perfectionism loop that constantly happens, rebuild your self-trust and your self-worth, create boundaries you can actually hold, and you have your accountability from yours truly. Don't forget, we also get a one-on-one personalized recovery protocol just for you that will help you for years beyond our coaching time together. So what you get is accountability, nervous system tools, and a true hand-holding pattern that will help you through with a white glove experience. And if you've been waiting for permission to choose yourself, now is the time. Make that extra moment to prioritize you so that way you can sustain your career in VetMed. Now, if this calls to you or you're curious, go to evolvevets.com where you can learn more and book an alignment call with me so that way we can better discuss if this is the right next step for you. I hope to see you in there and that we can stop this Code Blue moment.
It's amazing to hear how one story, one moment where you had significant reflection, right? That Mother's Day story just really stands out to me because we all have significant moments like that where we understand that we need to reprioritize. The story I just told, similar for me. Yep. And so then you transition to build Wolf U. And I want to understand, like, how did you get there? What was that transformation like? And yeah, tell me everything.
Well, so it took a different route. So I was part of that vice president of operations of that National Pet Care Centers, 8 hospitals grew to 80. VCA bought us in 2004. And I came across, so I was in a real strategic position, with National Pet Care Centers, came across with VCA. And after really checking them out, I really made them do all kinds of are you guys going to be really good? And what's going on? But anyway, after that, and it was a fabulous time at VCA for me. But once I joined them, I joined in operations role. So I had 22 general and specialty practices that I oversaw for them in Colorado and Oklahoma, about $50 million worth of revenue. And boy, was it, Bethany, seriously. So I went from this strategic role of okay, hospitals, you need to do so-and-so. And then I was down in operations where we had to execute on that stuff. And I realized why people would be so difficult at the hospital level, because the operations people were like, we don't have time to do that, or we can't do that, or it sounds great, but no way, Jose. Or you'll send them the box of whatever marketing you're supposed to do for the month and you find it in the closet, because no way, Jose.
Yeah, no way, Jose.
And so it was a gift that kept on giving, because I went from this la-di-da thing to nuts and bolts and really learned, I would say, got my MBA in veterinary hospital operations during that time, because it was the hardest job I ever did and continued. I would look back at my entire career and say that time in hospital operations was the most complex and hardest work, that I'd ever done. But it was so cool to become so smart so fast, right? Because I had general business, I had leadership, but that just refined it in such an amazing way. And I really enjoyed that time. I loved my hospitals. And then I moved to, they saw something in me, which was great, I guess, and invited me to join their executive team in LA and oversee doctor recruiting. And that was my original gig, which I did. I loved it. We built this beautiful recruiting department and added technicians in and did intern and residency placements. And then I noticed that the university was we had a thing, but it wasn't really, a corporate university per se. And so I was like, hey, I would be really interested in that too. And of course it's sure, do it. We're not going to give anything else for it, but it was one of those things which I was really pleased that I stepped forward to, because it started this whole, the next chapter in my career. And I learned so much. I always knew that education was really what fueled my hospitals and made them successful. So if we had a problem with the wait times, for example, at a bunch of practices, we scienced it out, figured it out, and trained on it, and moved the wait times down significantly, right? So
what was your process for that? That's so interesting.
Well, Ignite's built on all the things I learned in operations, right? If you look at Ignite, my forms, documents, templates that we have available to customers, all the education we do, everything is built on real life experience. And it's identify the problem, diagnose it, find the solution, and train on it. But without the training, it doesn't work. And veterinary medicine is so far behind in how we see education. We have all been lectured to, and we're just hope to hell we can remember it when we get back from the conference or whatever it may be. And we sit our teams down in front of a video to watch, and they take a test, and we're, thank goodness they're trained on that.
They know it
now.
They're
not, right?
Yeah, they're never going to forget.
we're one of the few. I don't know if there's other industries like us, but we are so far from what works with neuroscience and whatnot with adult learning principles. And so Wolf U was really a chance for me to kind of dip my toe in that and say, holy moly, if we were really revolutionaries, we could make it entirely different. And I thought I was a revolutionary then. I really wasn't. I am now.
Yes.
But at that time, how people learn, we just did groundbreaking things like having role-specific learning instead of having everything for the veterinarian and hoping everybody else just got something out of it.
Yeah.
Which was how it was before. You do a lunch and learn. It was all about veterinary stuff, and the CSRs would be like, I don't really understand any of this.
Yes.
Okay, did you all get it? That's great.
Go apply it.
So at Wolf U, it taught me many, many things. Having kennel kids that were still in high school and triple boarded specialists and trying to develop content for 24,000 learners. At that time, it's bigger now, clearly. But trying to really science out what works and what makes it sticky and changes behavior. It was an insane opportunity that they gave me to play in that sandbox and learn from. And now at Ignite, I've come light years from that. But it started with that trust they put in me there.
That makes so much sense. Can you tell us a little bit about what were your takeaways from the neuroscience and adult learning principles? Because it's so intriguing to be on, the pioneering front of that for veterinary medicine.
So really, there's this thing called the forgetting curve. And I didn't make it up. Actually, a guy named Eben Hoos did it many, 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 many years ago. But essentially, we forget. If we don't have reinforcement, we're doomed to forget 90% of what we've learned within a week.
A week? Wow.
So we go to a conference and we're like, yay, I heard that lecture and I'm so excited. I'm going to go home, and then life gets in the way and nothing happens. You'll be sitting in rounds a week later going, yeah, there was something about something. I know it was really cool. I have to look it up again. I don't really remember. That's just how our brains are. We have to have reinforcement to do that. And so learning has to follow that path. Learning has to fight that. If we can't overcome the forgetting curve, then we're never going to have sticky learning or behavior change, right? Everybody wants behavior change. It's the hardest thing in the world to get.
Hardest thing.
And the reason is we don't train right. We don't give ourselves the best chance possible. We also need to learn through telling stories. And that's something that we don't do very often in veterinary medicine. Oftentimes we'll be very clinical about it.
Here's the bullet points.
You do this, you pick this up first, second, third, you do this, but we don't tell the story of how that case worked through or something in a way that evokes emotion. Because the other thing is from neuroscience, if you can laugh or cry, you're going to remember it more. If you didn't have any emotion in that learning experience, there's a better chance you're going to forget it than if you had some emotion attached to it, or there was a story that you can remember to be able to recite. Short wins. So my passion right now, and it's a mashup of my two lives, is Ignite, the learning company, is high-end Hollywood kind of video production, animation, sound, mixed with what can we do? One thing and one thing only in 3 minutes or less. So if you want to do cardiocentesis on a snake, in 3 minutes, I have a video. It's actually 2:47, but a video that...
We'll call it 3.
Haven't done it in a while, right? Need to be reminded, or I've never done it. Snake patients coming in. I'm using this example because a lot of us haven't done that, right?
Definitely not.
And so it's my favorite video that we have. But in that 2 minutes, I can tell you exactly what you need to have prepared, how you find the heart, Doppler or no, how much blood that you can draw safely, and what kind of tubes you need to have ready in 2-3 minutes. And so the heart and soul of learning as Ignite has evolved has been, let's do what we know, which is that people's attention span is the same as a goldfish, which is 12 seconds or less. And so I'm not going to give you an hour-long webinar and have you watch that and then hope that you get something out of it, right?
Yeah, but I not what people need.
I can have something that'll be there for you when you have that snake in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So those are some things that we've learned. The thing that I go up against a lot, Bethany, maybe you'll have some thoughts on this, but we go to hospitals. We have incredible clients. We have over 20,000 people that partake of Ignite. But we have the biggest thing we hear from people is, well, I don't have time to train like that.
Yes. So, I hear that a lot in my coaching and meditation, journaling, the things that help you, go from actually doing the self-reflection to make changes in yourself so you can, whether become a leader, become a better vet. It's the same thing. Where do I find the time? So I'm curious to hear what your question is, because I hear the same spiel.
Well, that is the thing, is you can watch a video and take a test and forget it, or you can spend extra time with reinforcing ways, like all of our certificate programs like VRCE and IVAP and for CSRs and for VAs and all. We use the same kind of checklist system that you'd use if you were an intern, a rotating intern after vet school, where you have to actually demonstrate those skills 3 times in front of your mentor. And so we use that same thing, and people are like, oh no, I don't have time for it. But our argument is, you will always be on the hamster wheel of doing it yourself or jumping in and doing the the job your tech should be doing or that your CSR should do, you'll be doomed forever if you don't actually train them.
Yeah.
And so our passion, I mean, Ignite's a company, but it's a mission for
it
me,
is.
right? It's not a let's make money and just sell it. And if they take it and buy it, great. And if it works, great or not. That is not me.
No, definitely not.
And so we want to see completions. We want to see behavior change. We want to follow up with our students. We want data on how long it takes them, where they get stuck, all the stuff we do. And hopefully there's other companies doing the same. But just to buy it doesn't work with me. You got to buy it, use it, and change, or we have failed. And that's where I think this time thing is a nut I'm trying to crack right now, because the people who have trusted us are seeing that change.
Yeah.
But we're skeptics in veterinary medicine.
We are.
We need a lot of information to believe that can actually happen.
Yeah. So what's your solution? Are you letting people have connections with success stories and testimonials, or?
We're doing everything we can. We have gobs of testimonials. It just takes a certain I think up front, we're finding that we have to have deeper conversations with yes, your CSR is taking this certificate program. It's going to take 40 hours. And here's all the pieces of the puzzle that you have to provide so that you can customize this program to your practice. But you're going to have some commitment. If you have no commitment, there's going to be no
There's no buy-in for results either.
So, so having that conversation up front, I think, has been a bit better in saying what the time commitment actually is and what it actually is that you're doing. We're doing all the training, but you have to take a theory and move it to your particular practice so that it's relevant. And I can't do that.
Yeah, it's got to be the people in.
And if you will invest this time, first off, you'll think it's really fun. You'll learn that your student is much smarter than you had expected and much more motivated to help the practice than you ever thought. And it just trickles down into the culture of the practice. When people are excited about learning and learning new things, the whole practice gets better, right? And gets more excited.
Yeah. So. And that excitement ripples to everyone. It'll start in maybe at a CSR and then transition to, the VA and then to the doctor, right? So inspiration, it's kind of like when you get a new batch of veterinary graduates and then they're in your hospital and you're training them and you're like, oh, yeah, I remember when I was so excited to unblock my first cat. That was a really fun time.
Cute?
Yeah, exactly. But then you can kind of see the even the trainers and the mentors are the ones that are like, oh yeah, this is really fun. I do have a really cool job, and being a veterinarian is really an awesome career, and it kind of brings that excitement. So I think it really matches up with your brand, which is Ignite, right? It's igniting that spirit, that passion, in the people in the hospital, and then kind of letting it spread a little bit. So for those of us who are listening to the podcast but don't know a ton about Ignite, can you give us all the details and how you started it?
Yeah, so I was in LA, like I mentioned, and Wolfview was our first thing, and I had an incredible team of people that Diana Wynn and a bunch of great people that were working on there on Wolfview. And again, a friend said, "Hey, you're really passionate about. Why don't you start your own company?" And again, I said, "Oh, I can't do it because here's this whole list of reasons I can't do it, and I have this great job, and I could just." Literally, I could just retire at VCA, right? Everything was great. Everything was good. But I wanted to do something else. I'd never owned my own business before. After all this, I'd always worked for someone. And after that dinner, and I was like, no way, right? No way can that work. And then I couldn't think of anything else but that. So for the next following days and weeks, I'm like, oh, what if I had this? What would I do? How would it look like? And so
And that dinner was with Jason, right?
Jason,
yeah.
Right? So Jason Troutwine. So he just casually flipped it out there, and then he does.
He does that,
and he's so he himself is fearless. There's no boundaries around Jason Troutwine, right?
It's a beautiful way that he thinks.
Yes, he's another man that believed in a woman that then said, take all the shackles off, go do what you need to do. And so sure enough, after I was obsessed with it, several weeks later, I call him back and I'm like, "Oh, you're right. I got to do this. I got to do this." I keep bumping the mic. Sorry. And okay. He was sure. Let's, happy to help you if I can, and happy to cheer you on from afar if that's what it's needed. And so I started Ignite in the kitchen with one laptop. And because I'd left VCA, there's no instructional designers, there's no IT team, there's no marketing, there's nothing but Jill. And so
nothing but Jill.
Nothing but Jill. So it's like, wow, this is really hard when you don't have people. But it was really exciting to have a startup. And then I hired my first employee, and she was this Gabby. She came with me. She was with Sound, and she came with me over, and then it was just awesome. And we were thinking of all these ideas, and just to be untethered, like I wasn't publicly traded anymore.
Yeah,
I could do anything I wanted. I didn't have to have a brand guideline that was anybody else's. It was going to be mine. So
that's beautiful. I guess, so that's the true living out of your authentic values, right? You found something that you're passionate about. You're bringing it to life. You're having this excitement, this energy, this gift. I guess, like, what would you say was the journey to get there? Like, if somebody was on their journey of finding the thing that they're passionate about, right? That's how I feel about Evolve Vets. So if somebody was on their path to, like, maybe considering entrepreneurship, how would they know that they've landed on the idea that makes them, like, go to the next level and get so excited?
I don't think you'll ever know that. It's the problem, right? But I think you'll know that if I could do anything in the world, I would do what? Like, just ask that question of yourself.
Yeah.
If I could do anything. And the beautiful thing about veterinary medicine is almost without exception, everything I've done didn't exist before I did it. So, it's and the people on my team, like even at VCA, we created jobs that didn't exist anywhere else in veterinary medicine, right? But they were a need that was met. And I think if you look at that, if you say, I would be the happiest I could possibly be by doing X, and there's a pain point that I could solve, there's a problem that could be solved. That's the other thing is, because you could, make pillows or something, but there's a lot of pillows out there.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to kind of say, how would my passion change something for the better or stop pain that someone has? And so if you could match up passion with purpose, that really helps you, I think, be successful. And then just really, sometimes we're not good at making business plans in veterinary medicine, but you really, really have to sit down with yourself and anybody else who can mentor you and make a business plan. Like, where do I want to be in 1 year, 3 or 5 years? It's not just a shtick that people do. It really helps you have a roadmap. Yeah. To get that done. So fortunately I had enough business background and then had a passion, but it was still scary as shit.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. What
was the most scary thing that you encountered as an entrepreneur?
The scariest thing was when I finally had employees to realize that I was 100% responsible for them being able to make their car payment or buy Christmas presents for their kids or whatever it may be. It was up to me to be successful, to make sure to take care of them.
Wow.
And
that sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It's a lot of responsibility, but it's, if they were giving everything they had and it succeeded. Fortunately, we're on year 10. This is year 10 in June.
Congratulations. That's so exciting. Wow.
And we're no longer like a startup. We're in starting to be
you're the real deal.
Real company,
Exactly. I love that. So you've become a champion for CSRs everywhere. Can you tell me about why you had the idea to invest so much in the people that are first seeing those patients when they walk through the door and the ones answering the phones?
Yeah, I would say I'm even an evangelist for CSRs. And I'll tell you what really got my whole life is about moments, Bethany, but what really happened was I did a study of 1,200 CSRs. I was going to make this training program. It was actually on something completely different. And I was given a list of the superstar CSRs at these multiple practices around the country. And we were going to make this training program. And so part of the gig for me was to listen to the recorded phone calls, the inbound calls that are recorded. A lot of different suppliers for that. But and that's why I was going to pick out a bunch and figure out and then make this training program. And I listened to over 1,000 calls trying to find one that was what I deemed was a really perfect call. Never found it. And over the course of a year, I came home every night to my husband, who's also a veterinarian, and sometimes crying, sometimes needing a drink. I don't know, but it was so sad. what we do to that person at the front desk. We put them in an untenable position, and pets' lives are at stake because of what they say, because of what we've asked them to ask before. We will say it's okay to bring the pet in some practices and all this. And it broke my heart to the core. And we had an opportunity. So I interviewed a bunch of these CSRs too, had the opportunity and got them on video. And the person would say to me, Jill, I had someone on the phone with a Doberman that had bloody diarrhea, and the dog was in desperate way. And I had to go back in the back and beg my medical team to work this appointment in. Mm. They didn't want to work. We were booked and they couldn't work it in and wanted to send it away. And they said, I'm stuck between a sick pet and an owner who's crying on the phone and a medical staff who wants me to ask more questions to make sure it really needs to come in and or wants to send it off someplace else. And they said, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. And it's a terrible spot, right?
Yeah.
And just the fact that people this was my real pet peeve, and what I really got out of the end of it is we ask CSRs to ask questions. So our average time was 11 minutes worth of questions to a sick pet owner.
Wow.
From the CS, and a 40% appointment capture. So I spent 11 minutes of my time, only less than half of them actually booked. With training, again, we moved it to 3 minutes and 80% appointment capture. Because why do we ask CSRs to know, I mean, it's okay, is it an emergency or not? Did it happen a month ago or not? But beyond that, why do they need to know exactly, do you hear rumbling sounds? Can you check his gums for me and then tell him if they're pale or not, or are they pink? Can you do this? This is what I was hearing on these.
Yeah, no, I believe it. And it makes so much sense.
And why did they do that? Because their medical staff had come up and either done nonverbals or verbals. Well, look I'm triple book right there. Why'd you book that? And we learn as humans, you don't get punished 2-3 times and keep doing it, right? So we stop and we continue to ask questions. They overheard what the technicians might be asking, and they asked those kinds of questions, hoping that would help them know if it was important or not. And the fact of the matter is, it takes one sentence. Gosh, that doesn't sound normal for Nigel. Let me see when I can get him in to see doctor.
Yeah.
Right? It's not normal. Get him in. Right?
Get them in. Yeah.
And I know you have to have boundaries, and people will watch this and go, well, great for you to say, but we're triple booked. Well, do we need more veterinarians? What do we need to do to accommodate this? Or do we need a partnership with another hospital where we can rev share or what do we need to do to not send a dog home? And, example, lady calls in, young dog, bleeding, bloody, whatever. CSR says, she's just in heat. It's no big deal. Dog dies the next day of parvo.
Wow.
That client didn't know where the blood was coming from, right? They're not a medical professional.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah.
So,
and I work at Veg, and when I work my clinical shifts on the floor, I take a lot of these medical calls. And there's been many times that the customer calls and says, oh, I think my cat has a hurt tooth. Can I see my general practice tomorrow? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, but why don't you come in? I'll get some antibiotics going, and then you can have your dental and do your thing. And then the cat shows up and it's a pyometra.
Right.
Because the owner doesn't know that maybe the reason your cat isn't eating, it's not a hurt tooth. It's actually that it's really, really, really sick and going septic, Well,
and that's the point. And so CSRs, after listening to all this, I realized that it wasn't always it wasn't their fault, right? They hadn't been trained. I heard so many people going, this is my second week, or what? Okay, fine. Or whatever they said, or wait to come in on the emergency because the emergency fees is $54 more. And if you wait till tomorrow, you won't have that fee. We haven't done anything to really give them the tools to do it. So that was the start. And I know this, some people might like, oh, gee, many Christmas, they need to ask some questions. Well, maybe they do, but they probably don't.
Right.
And you probably wouldn't need extra CSRs if they weren't 11 minutes on the phone asking questions that they were going to do nothing with the information, right? But that was the point, is these guys were suffering. And I realized they have no education. There's nothing out there for them. They're complete orphans of education. And so when Ignite came along, one of my missions, and I took a few years to do it, but was to start something serious for them. and try to elevate that role, because it's a revenue generating, client experience driving, new client capture position. And we treat it like they just answer phones.
Yeah, no, it's super vital, right? It's the first time that the hospital can build trust with the customer.
Yeah.
So it's super vital, super important. I love that you're doing the work that actually shows up for them and shows them as a valuable team player. Because the truth is, veterinary medicine is a team sport, right? We can't I would be worthless without my nurses and my technicians to help me. I haven't had to place a catheter in a really long time, thankfully, because they're so skilled and they love doing those things. And same with our CSRs. It's so important that they show up and they know how to field those questions and know how to, make sure somebody comes in safe and that they're there to comfort the customer when they're going through really hard times. So I think you've found a niche and a huge gap in a need that really needed to be met for veterinary medicine that obviously is delivering well, going on 10 years, which is exciting for you guys. The VRCE program is one of the first certificates specifically designed for veterinary receptionists. What does that mean for a front desk member to actually have a role that's supported in this way? And how do you start to teach them that it can truly be a career and not just a job?
Newsflash. I went through my entire practice thinking that all the CSRs really wanted to be at a dentist office or doing something else. It's just not true. Totally not true. They will stay. They want to stay, but they want to be educated and they want to be valued. And Bethany, I can't tell you how many people in our program or otherwise who have told me, this is the first time I've ever been told I was important.
Oh, that makes me want to cry.
Yeah. My friend Debbie Boone, who's kind of my partner in crime on the nonprofit we started for CSRs, same thing. She said, I've heard that same comment from people. They come up and say, no one's ever told me I'm important, or I'm just a CSR, or whatever the things that they say. So VRCE was born out of, hey, you know what? We could teach them about finance. We could teach them a really deep dive in medical terminology and change their relationships with the medical team because they're using different language now. We could do things on client experience so that they become the people that really create the client journey map throughout the practice and they manage that. We could make them revenue generators by appointment capture, by retail sales, by all the other ways, new client acquisitions, fee capture. There's a million ways that they can be an extreme revenue producer. And actually without them, nobody else is making any money in the practice, right?
Yeah, let's just call it what it is. We need to book appointments.
Right. And they're bright and they're ambitious and they want to learn, and there's very little out there in the veterinary space for them. So really VRCE kind of kicked the ball off. And let me just tell you this. We start VRCE. We have two iterations. It's evolved because we have a real good feedback loop from the students to evolve it. But when we started, I can't tell you how many people said, Jill, that's never going to work. No hospitals are going to, there's no CE for my CSRs. There's nobody's going to pay for that because it's a transition role. People are just here for a little bit. And if we train them, they'll leave. These are all the things I heard. This is going to fail. This is going to fail. This is going to fail. And now we have like 5,500 people in the program. We have 1,000 graduates that just graduated by December 31st of 2025. We were 1,000 graduates of a 40-hour hard-ass program. They said, yes, I'll do it. And I want more, please. Right?
If you love this podcast, you find yourself nodding along, thinking, this is exactly how I feel at work, and sometimes even outside of work, then I want to invite you to something even bigger. Come with me to the Evolve Vets membership. It's my online home and community for women in veterinary medicine who are done surviving and ready to start evolving. Inside the membership, you're going to find race-approved masterclasses, vet reset meditations, live monthly coaching with yours truly, and a community of women who actually get it. It's not toxic positivity. It's not just another membership you sign up for. It's learning how to manage your energy, protect your boundaries, and build a sustainable career in veterinary medicine. It's your choice to move from self-abandonment to self-devotion. And the truth is, you don't have to do it alone, my friend. Come evolve with us.
When people were telling you that it would fail, I guess like what kept you going or persistent in those moments of doubt, right? Because you have to be so self-assured, so confident, so bought into the vision of what you're building to continue despite the gap in belief from those the surrounding you? So what was...
Because I knew that there was an audience, like I knew the CSRs, there was a pain that needed to be put to rest, right?
Right.
It wasn't like all those things that people are saying, once I found out it wasn't true, because I believed it too. When I was in practice, I thought, oh yeah, CSRs are, we had a great ones at my practice that had been there 30 years or whatever, but I believed that because that's the party line, is that person's, they're just a phone answer. It's just it's a entry level role. This is all the things, I believed it too. And once I got involved with CSRs and they're like, hell no, I'll stay forever if you'll just tell me what to do.
Wow.
Then it became a mission. So it was like, I can't believe that stuff because it's not true. So I'm just going to dig in and try to convince everybody else it's not true and see if we can break through. And the progressive practices that we've been able to connect with are those that said, hey, I value my people. I'm ready for something if you've got it. And so there's always early adopters in veterinary medicine, very few of them, but there are always some. And that really helped us in the beginning because we showed great results on revenue. Really, when we track these guys on retention rates of 80%, we can track on revenue, depending if we've got pre and post data from the practice. But, we're seeing great numbers. Appointment capture, appointment books filled, revenue.
That's amazing.
All that stuff from these graduates. But yeah, you just got to say, if you believe it yourself to the depth of your core, you just have to say,
it's going to work.
It's going to work. I'm just going to change what
I'm going to freaking prove it. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. All right. So veterinary medicine is currently 63% female, with graduating classes coming out of vet school around 90% female. So our world, our veterinary community, is pretty much being dominated by females, which is amazing. I think it's like 43% or 40-ish% end up, being in leadership in some way by owning a practice or, being in like a medical director type role. And then only 21% of those get to this executive level, which is astonishing to me. And so, like, as someone who's been in those seats, what advice would you give to a fellow veterinarian who maybe is young in their career, has desires to be in those executive level roles, from somebody who's, been in that same boardroom and actually, lived out that truth?
Well, there's one thing it's going to sound so easy, but you really need to tell people what it is you want. People aren't mind readers. Men are for sure not mind readers, right? And I know that. No slap against my male friends out there, but
we love you guys.
Nobody takes that much time to try to it's a busy world, and nobody's going to go, Bethany, I'm going to sit you down today. They should do this, and I would suggest that people do this, but it doesn't happen very often where someone sits you down and go, Bethany, you're a superstar. Where do you want to go in your career, and how can I help you get there?
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. So you need to go, or whoever is out there that wants to aspire to something different, you need to tell somebody.
Yeah.
And tell them a lot and say, hey, we had a lot of opportunities like this at VCA too, but where people could say, raise my hand, I want to be a medical director, but I feel like I don't have the tools to get that done. What can I do to do that? And we had programs and opportunities for that. But in a regular hospital, you can just go to your current medical director, say, I really want to replace you someday. Would you mind including me in some of the conversations that you have that are safe? I don't want to hear, see anybody's payroll numbers or anything else, but I'd love to find out more about business and how this runs. Could I shadow you on certain things? Are you going to a particular business meeting that it would be, okay for me to go with you and just learn and suggest stuff and do it? But we sit back and we're like, I got overlooked for so-and-so. Well, did you ever tell them that you want it? Because people are I'll tell you, in leadership roles, you're hungry for somebody to come up and tell you that they want to do something.
Yeah.
Right.
And it sounds like there's also this component of like being willing to take on a stretch assignment, like volunteering time to go to the business meeting, or like you said, come up with a project and execute on the project. There's this like initiation part too. So it's not only just telling people it's what you want, it's also following that up with like an aligned action and actually showing, yeah, okay, like I'm ready to invest a little bit more to learn this skill so that way I can, get to this next step and this next layer.
100%. I mean, old saying, right? Squeaky wheel gets the grease. But really and truly, if I'm a leader, I know that I've got to have succession plans for whatever my units that I'm running or whatever it may be in whatever industry I'm in. And if somebody bright comes along and says, hey, I'm your person, it's hard for me to go, come on. And that's where I think we have a fear of, I don't know enough yet to raise my hand. Have I earned it? Have I earned it? And this is going back to our female discussion about women is, yes, you can do it. Find somebody that can tell you can do it. Find a mentor outside of your industry or outside of your practice if you don't think you can do it, that'll slap you around a little bit until you can.
Yeah.
And then go to have that conversation and go, hey, it's early. Because that's what your male colleagues are going to do.
Yeah.
Right? You're waiting until you already have done the job for 2 years and then you go ask for a raise and your title change. And they're just saying, hey, I'd like to do that. What do you think? And they're like, come along, I'll teach you.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're not afraid to ask early too. My boyfriend, when he was like 6 months in his new job at Apple, he was like, okay, I'm just going to go to my boss and say like, hey, eventually, like I would love to be promoted, in a few years, but I'm going to tell him 6 months in because that's just what they do. I was like, what do you mean you're in this job for 6 months? And he's like, man, there's nothing bad's going to happen if I just ask. And it's like such a different perspective from, like you said, what we've been taught, where it's wait and see.
And leadership is such a Rubik's Cube. So you're always trying to figure out, if I lose this person, who's going to go here, you've got to be prepared because that's part of leadership, right? And if people raise their hand early, oh, great, I've got some opportunities I can get Bethany in right now that are going to get her where she needs to go. And then keep refining it. And exactly. But again, there's a fine line between volunteering and getting extra information and doing the job for 2 years and not getting paid for it. So you have to find out what that line is. Hey, so-and-so, I want to learn about medical directors. Can I study hard? And when we get to X point, then I'd like to start looking for a way for me to be, your backup here at the practice, or I'd like to be considered for a medical director role at your satellite clinic or whatever it may be. So, you have to have an end to that at some point. Yeah. It can't be a forever training program.
Right. No.
But you do, but volunteering and doing that work definitely gets you in quicker.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Such great advice. I'm like spinning on my wheels on how to do it too. Okay. So you're married to Dr. Bob Martaw, and he's a criticalist and is now founding a new vet school, which is so cool. How do y'all juggle two really big careers like at the same time? Like, what's that look like in your home life, in your professional life?
Well, I love him to pieces. And he is, so both of us have been married once before, so we had to have a training run, right?
I love
to get it right. And we got it right. And we spend an inordinate amount of time making sure that we show that to each other, right? We never make those same mistakes. And matter of fact, when he taught at Tufts, he was when he started the emergency critical care college and the program at Tufts, they called him Flatline because he's like so steady. And I'm like, la, 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 right?
Yeah.
So, but we balance out really well. And he would support me 1,000% in what I do, and he does. And I would do that same thing for him, and I do.
Wow.
And so it's really advantageous because he knows everybody in the entire veterinary medicine. And I'll have some, like at dinner, hey, I'm trying to do so-and-so. He goes, oh, I got somebody, I'll connect you tomorrow. So it's like having my own Rolodex
That's so
at dinner.
Cool.
And then we have 33 animals together. No,
33?
Yeah, no biological.
I knew you had a lot, but I didn't know it was that many.
I know. I looked at your sheet and I was like, oh, it's risen quite a bit. But so we have, it's like we're dairy farmers. Like we're stuck on the farm until one can go away and the other needs to stay home. And we have a pet sitter from when we want to get away. But having all those kids and all that joy at our ranch just makes it even better. Like we don't really need to go on vacation because we just live a vacation all the time in such a joyful, wonderful place.
Aww.
So it's been.
So you've kind of like created your own little sanctuary.
For sure. Yeah.
On your farm.
Absolutely. We have things we like that are away from veterinary medicine. And then, we don't sit and just talk about veterinary medicine all the time, but we do talk about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And he's at the same place in his career, maybe further for sure, because he's an overachiever, but and as I am, in that we've accomplished what we feel like we needed to accomplish in our career to internally think we were successful. And so now our mission is to give back in whatever ways we can. So both of us are on that college, everything that he does. I doubt you'd find many people that say he does anything for himself. It's for everybody else. And so the beautiful thing about having two people in that same spot is you can really have ideas and engage in conversations and things that you couldn't do if you were still like trying to get to where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so that giving back, he's really taught me a lot about that. I'm very compassionate, but I want to save the world, where he wants to save every individual person in the world.
Wow.
So the balance works out really well. He keeps me honest, like, you should really help that person do this thing. And I'm like, you should really do this thing for the whole profession.
That's such a sweet balance, because it's the intention is beautiful and good.
It's beautiful. It's just, we really, I've learned so much from him. And, he's actually a mentor and my husband all in one. It
sounds like you really admire him so much. And it just like comes across in the way that you talk about him. And I think that's, I don't know, I've never been married yet, but when the day comes, like, I hope that, I always have that same admiration for my partner, for the longevity of our relationship too. It's just such a special quality to have.
We've been together 16-ish years and married 11. We have never said anything bad to each other, so that we regret. And I think that's been.
How do you do that? That's so interesting to me.
Well, it came from just life lessons, right? No good comes from that. And to beat up the one person you want to be on your side forever and ever, it does no good, right? It only does harm. And so we never really spoke about it. We've just lived by it.
Wow, so cool.
And I think it's so nice, because you don't have a bunch of, I'm sorry.
You said this thing.
Or whatever. Yeah. It's just, I'm on your side, and I realize you're on my side, and you gave me some harsh feedback, but I'm going to take it as feedback, and I'm not going to take it as an attack or whatnot,
Yeah, that's really sweet. Do you each have your own way of like processing before y'all talk about something, or not really? And it's okay if you say no. I just for me, I like to journal. And like for me to get clear on a topic or how I'm feeling about something, I usually do like meditation and journaling, and that works really well for me. Do you have any like processes that help you like work through your feelings and emotions?
Is it if there's something that could be an argument?
Yeah, like I guess if you're thinking, I'm thinking like that's such a cool, honorable and place to come from, and integrity to like never say anything bad to your partner. Like that's like such a beautiful thing. And I think I do a pretty good job about this. Fabian, call me out if not. But I think the reason that I do a good job with that is because I spend a lot of time thinking and reflecting, and then journaling like, okay, why did this thing trigger me? And like, what's mine to own? Or maybe it has nothing to do with him at all, but maybe it's like truly like something that's going on in me from my childhood that like I can journal about it and process it and be like, in that conversation, just say, hey, this is what I need for me to feel safe in our relationship. And then he's like such a great guy that he's always like, oh yeah, I'd love to like meet your needs. Like, let's do that thing. And that's such an easy fix. So I think, I don't know that in my past relationships, I would have shown up with as much calm or understanding what I need if I didn't go through this journey of learning how to do the processing and the work behind it.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm always just curious, like for people like you who, are successful in career and relationship, like you're kind of checking all the boxes in the best way, but I'm assuming there's probably some process that you do that always like keeps you centered. And maybe that's like riding, right? Because you're horses, right?
My horses are big old, they're like therapists out there in the field.
They are.
But the reality is anyone knows me knows that I talk while I'm thinking. Like I don't think about it and then say the appropriate thing. I just like let it rip.
Yeah. Yeah, you just let it out.
And it could be an F-bomb, it could be whatever.
Yeah.
But that's how I get rid of whatever it is. And then usually after out it comes, then I start thinking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know what? That would have been and he just lets it happen. I mean, he doesn't try to, both of us, I have a good friend, Rocky McKelvey, who's in veterinary medicine, Dr. Rocky McKelvey. He said, don't assume malice I get this a little bit wrong. Don't assume malice for anything that can be attributed to anything else. But.
Yeah.
And so I think if you look at in your relationship and say, there's no malice. When I'm coming uncorked about something, it's not about, I don't like him. It's I'm just venting. And, same thing with him. But he just lets it happen, doesn't say anything. And then he's fine with it. And I'll say, oh, sometimes I'll go, yesterday when I blew up, he goes, I don't even remember that. And he doesn't internalize my crazy.
He's just like, this is just her getting it out. And that's her part of your process, which is beautiful. And he just lets it be.
Not responding, which is work on my part, right? Because usually when someone's like, you want something to come back and nothing comes back. And after nothing comes back, I go, okay.
It's out now. I'm done.
So that I think if there's any secret, it's just the way we're wired works in that way. And we both appreciate, both of us have done, I'll tell you something I like too is Enneagram. Have you ever?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a 3, he's a 9. And we both feel we've done a lot of work in that and through our companies or people we've been associated with. And it really is enlightening. And it lets those things that might have bugged you otherwise, you attribute that to that's where he gets his joy. So something that would like drive me crazy, oh yeah, he's the 9, so he gets his joy that way. So I would take his joy away if I continue to harp on this. So I better shut up. Yeah. Because it's not that big a deal.
No. Yeah. That's amazing. Have you heard of the study of human design?
I haven't.
Oh, so it's like similar to like an Enneagram or astrology. It kind of defines how you show up in the world based on like what time you were born, where you were born. And it's super interesting. So it'll take like how you process emotions, whether you're an emotional processor or a more non-emotional processor, whether you can, like how you see things, how you smell things, like how the best environment you could possibly be in. It's super interesting. I'll send you a link after this.
Do.
Yeah, because it's just a deeper layer. I love all the different types of study of self because I think the more awareness you have for yourself and for the people around you, like you said, if it brings him joy, then okay. Then like that's just going to be who he is. And that's a beautiful part of it. Oh, we love Dr. Murtaugh. That's great.
He is a great guy.
He's a great guy. Great. So at the Evolve Vets, we talk about, living in accordance with your values and the things that you really align with. So what are some things that currently bring you joy outside of work?
Well, I've been showing horses. I've been riding horses since I was 5. I've been showing since I was 9. And so that's really where anybody that knows me knows that there's usually, a horse attached to me at some point during the day. And I've just been blessed I've been able to do it for all this time.
I love that. Stunning.
Yeah.
What, who are you looking up to like as a mentorship or who's inspiring you right now?
Well, quite honestly, Bethany, right now there's a lot going on in the world.
There is. And
who's inspiring me are people who give a voice to the voiceless. And right now it's many, many people. Sometimes it's thousands of people, right? But I'm just inspired by courage and doing the right thing and helping those who can't help themselves. So it's not even a person anymore. It's really just movements almost, right?
Movements, yeah. And as a veterinarian, speaking up for the people or animals that are voiceless makes a lot of sense that really resonates with you. So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anything that you're reading or listening to lately that's like really catching your attention?
I don't really spend a lot of time. I don't really watch TV or anything very much, but I am addicted to the morning show on Apple TV and just finally got that done. And this is a weird fact about me is that every night I go to sleep watching baking shows.
Great British Baking Show or which one?
British Baking Show.
I love that one.
Kids Baking Championship, Holiday Baking Championship, whatever it is. I record those and watch them. And so I'm a highly competitive person just in life. And that's why the horse showing kind of really helps me is I love competition. I love things done well. And for some reason, watching a competition, even like the baking show, is just like puts me right to sleep. So that's my little known fact. And the weirder part of it is Bob cooks all of our meals. I don't cook anything.
Way to go, Bob.
So the fact that I'm watching baking shows and nothing is coming of it, I think you have to give him some props. Like, okay, someday there will be a cookie or something.
At least a cookie.
Something. Yeah. Her knowledge will come somehow back to me.
You lucked out, man. When I first went on my dating journey, was really starting to date intentionally, my coach was very clear. She's like, you just have to find somebody that can cook, among other things, right? Like be a good person, have good spirit. But it's really fun to have a partner that you can cook with or be cooked for. So I love that. So maybe one day you will be able to make that cookie. And if not, I can make some for you. And then you can give them to Bob and be like, this is for you.
He loves to cook. And I think it's just his mind is so, he's got a big brain. And I think he just finds that, like, he doesn't want help or anything in the kitchen. He wants just like, he just likes the process of that creation.
It's very relaxing.
Yeah, so that's his
process.
He does it, yeah.
I love it. So outside of Ignite, you have a new division. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, it's a complete mashup of my two lives. So take the film business and then veterinary medicine, and we put it together into a thing called Ignite Studios, still within the Ignite umbrella. But we took the same production, high-end video, animation, sound design, music team that makes our microlearning and all the videos for Ignite Learning, and created that into an opportunity to get that out to big pharma or companies that want a sizzle reel for a veterinary conference, or they want a certificate program to train on whatever it is, their new product or their particular specialty discipline. And it's just really on fire.
Wow.
It's been really exciting. And I think if you look, I love Ignite. I love all the learning, and I get just as much joy from this opportunity to be heavy in production again, video production and creative. So it's now kind of going back to that, like, oh, it feels so warm and fuzzy like home, because I miss veterinary medicine, and I miss pure veterinary medicine. I miss pure video production, and to put them together, it just seems like it's like a, like hot chocolate on a really cold day or something.
I love that so much, because I think that's the beautiful part about life. The reason that you go through something, even if it is for a short period of time, like, it always kind of comes back. Like when I first got into photography, probably, what was that, like 11 years ago or something like that? It was just such a joy. And then that led me to one day helping out with my podcast, right? So it just kind of leads you. It always comes back. There's always a reason that you're drawn to something. There's always a reason or something that you'll learn from the journey. So I love that you've been able to make your little cup of hot chocolate and kind of mix the two. And it sounds like it's going really well.
It's going really well. It's been a lot of fun. And so, so that's kind of the new piece of Ignite that's new. And fortunately, there's been a lot of folks out there that said, yeah, we'd like to take that next step and not do boring videos. We want to do something really with some pizzazz. And there's very few people out there that have both deep veterinary understanding and videos. So I think it's met a need.
It's your niche.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Thank you so much for sharing more.
Thanks for asking about
that.
Of
course. So for those people who've listened to the podcast and want to get to know you or Ignite more, how can they find you?
IgniteVet.com is our website. I'm at Jill@IgniteVet.com. Reach out to me at any time. I'm absolutely happy to talk to anybody about anything on their journey, or be a cheerleader, or help you not make certain mistakes I made. I mean, everything's fair game, because as I mentioned, I think we all owe our success to a whole lot more people than just ourselves. And if we can be that community for others to lift them up, then, I'd be really, really excited to do that.
That's beautiful. Jill, thank you for joining us on the Evolve Vets podcast today. It's been such a fun conversation. I've really loved just getting to know you more, and thank you for your openness and vulnerability. It's been a great time, and I really hope the podcast can help more veterinarians find their way and find their path within our career.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bethany.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So together, let's stop revolving and start evolving. Oh, thanks, Jill, for coming. It's been so fun getting to know.
It's been my honor. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the Evolve Vets podcast. It truly means the world to me. If this episode supported you or sparked something new in you, please go to evolvevets.com to become a member or join our coaching program and truly continue this work beyond the podcast. Let's evolve together.